WhiskeyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have Nc'nean. I'm not the first, but I think I'm the first person who's going to compare batch 2 with batch 3. Unfortunately, I was too late for batch 1. Now, the little cardboard can here is interesting. It's a little bit like Dalmore. When you grab it on the top and you try to carry it, you're going to have a very bad experience. Now, these bottles are made from recycled glass, which is very, very good for the environment. And the packaging is here made from recycled paper. Very, very nice, or cardboard. So what we have here is the Isle of Mull. You can see that. That's where Tobermory is. And then over here, it's a map of Scotland. Basically, you have Morveen. And then you have Nc'nean here. And so you also have here the new distillery, which is being built over here, which is in the Art na Morchen, way up at the top there. So I bought batch 2 and batch 3 because I could not get batch number 1. And also, by the way, when you need a little bit of fine touch. If you try to spin it and pull it up, you get a vacuum. It doesn't work very nicely, so you need to have a nice smooth action with getting these bottles out of here. So Annabelle Thomas. She actually had the idea for the distillery in 2012. So she needed to gather money, which took a little while. She needed to have the plans. She needed to get Jim Swan on board, Dr. Jim Swan. And just weeks after his death in March of 2017, the first spirit was distilled and was flowing from the stills, which is a shame. I do like the bottle. The green glass here and so on is very, very nice. I kind of like this design. It feels like I'm a little bit underwater. I'm a little bit of Back to the Future, enchanted something or other under the sea and so on. So what she says here is, I started Nc'nean to change the way the world thinks about whiskey from Scotland. So she wants to be a game changer. My mission was to create a whiskey which could exist in harmony with this planet we call home. And since 2017, we've been distilling whiskey with organic Scottish barley, very interesting, and using 100% renewable energy, also very interesting. Smooth and elegant, our whiskey is easygoing and delicious. However, you drink it, but especially good with soda. I find I can taste citrus, peach, apricots, and spice. I hope you love it as much as we do. Annabelle, with a little X there. All right, so what we have here is 1 spirit still, 1 wash still. We have about a capacity of 95,000 liters a year, which is in the lower range of the new distilleries, by the way. That's not a whole lot. If you go up to Wolfburn, they're doing about twice that. So they use 2 different strains of yeast. One is a fermentis and one is an anchor, which I thought was very, very interesting. And they have fermentation times which are much longer, of 114 hours. So they're actually letting one type of yeast do their job at the beginning, and then a second one to get a different bright fruity flavor here. Exactly the same thing Annadale is doing, by the way, which was also guided, recommended, and consulted by Dr. Jim Swan. So batch number 2 here was filled on the 28th of September 2020, 5,040 bottles. And over here we have batch number 3, which was bottled on the 12th of November 2020, and also 5,040 bottles. 46%, both of these are 65% STR, shaved, toasted, recharred, red wine barrels from Portugal. They must have had a lot of red wine barrels back there. I'm just waiting to be used because all these new distilleries are using them. Coswolds, Annandale, Nc'nean, Cavalon, everyone else who's in contact in some way with Dr. Jim Swan has these STR now on their programs. 65% STR, 35% ex-bourbon casks, 46% ABV, and I paid $54.90 for each of these. Now, the inaugural release, that was 1,320 bottles, was a 60.3%. That is now, originally was 99 pounds, and now it's on sale, at least in the secondary market over here in Europe, for 650 euros. Was one of the cheaper prices I found online about that. Unfortunately, I didn't get into that. All right, so this was actually built. Annabelle Thomas built the distillery on the property of her parents' farm, which is called the Nc'nean farm or estate. And Nc'nean was named after the Gothic goddess of spirits and of also a few other very, very passionate things. So 100% organic Scottish barley, which I mentioned. So let's try these. And also 100% renewable energy was used to make this. Cereal, honey melon, a little bit of a green, young note, white chocolate. Over here. Darker, richer, creamier. More of a lychee, more of a gooseberry, more of a white plum moment. A little bit of wood, more fruitiness. It's amazing, at least for me, the difference 6 weeks in the barrel can make. Now, it just might be the batch 3 was higher up in the dunnage warehouse. This might have been lower. This might have been a little bit closer to the windows. It might have had a little more of an angel share. This might have been protected a little bit more. Who knows? Those are very variances there that make a difference. What I do miss a little bit is the fact that we have, once again, STR casks. I would love to try the spirit as it is, maybe with an ex-bourbon cask. Just let it set in a nice ex-bourbon cask for 5 years, and then give it to me, which they might actually plan to do. The distillery was opened March 2017. It is now January 2021. They can't produce something that's 5 years old if the distillery is not 5 years old. I understand that problem 100%, but I would really, really like to have a whiskey that is not just the typical STR and the bourbon. It just seems to be getting slowly but surely old. And my concern is Nc'nean might just be one of those distilleries that stirred up a little bit of publicity at the beginning, and then afterwards another 20 distilleries go online and stir up publicity, and then somehow it just fades away and we forget about it. Now, I'm sure they're going to have a nice following, and I'm sure there's going to be people that are actually very, very, the organic part, the renewable energy part, maybe the design and the female leadership is something that's going to keep them there and keep them active and keep them engaged. Unfortunately, I'm here for the whiskey, and that's the thing I taste, and that's the thing that I rate. All right, the batch number 2. So, okay, and then the alcohol, and it's a young alcohol. It's a burning type of birch wood alcohol. It takes a while for that to dissipate, and then the sweetness, and then the brightness, and the fruitiness kicks in. But it's still somewhat too young for my opinion. I think I've made that clear. Good. Going over to batch number 3. And this surprised me, is the difference. Yes, there's a little bit of alcohol. Yes, it's still younger, but it's not as young. It's not as in your face. It's not as green. This is a much better composition. They blended the casks that were available to them in a way that this whiskey is actually a better whiskey than the 2. Now, I think this is almost the same problem we're having with Waterford. If you go to Ballymorgan, for example, the organic farm, sorry, it's a single farm, it's not the organic one, and you just actually taste the Ballymorgan 1.1, which is 3 years and a couple months. You taste Ballymorgan 1.2, and it's like 6 months older. It's only 6 weeks, but it's like, oh wow, that's a big difference. And I'm sure Ballymorgan 1.3, which will even be older, more older, will actually be even better. And I can't wait for the 1.4, which will be the pinnacle of what they're going to do, and then they'll move on to the next year's barley. This was just a little bit too young, and this had enough time in the cask to actually become something that I could say, wow. I remember Michter's actually having someone there called Dr. No. He would constantly say, no, our whiskey's not ready. No, our whiskey's not ready. And I have the feeling that someone here said, oh, 3 years, it's ready. And somebody could have said, no, wait another half of a year. Now, the problem is waiting another half a year means another half of a year with no cash flow. And this is something that really, really is important for a new distillery. We've had the 3 years. We've had to try and kind of somehow to bridge and to be able to work through. And then it's like, bam, inaugural release. Bam, batch number 1 sold out. Bam, batch number 2 and batch number 3 reach Germany actually at the same time and actually are put out on the market at the same time. Don't worry. We had Brexit. We just put them on one container. We sent them over. Bam. Batch number 4 is being prepared. And then it's just like, all right, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What are we going to do? Is it going to be a core range product? Is it always going to be batches? What are you going to do? It's only 95,000 liters a year that they're putting out. A batch is about 15 barrels. So you can do that a few times, but are you going to do it 10 times, 20 times? What are you going to do? And do you have any product that's going to be finished or going to be matured and ready in 5 years, 8 years, 12 years, and so on? What's the plan there for Nc'nean? And I have not read anything about that yet. Annabelle, maybe you can give us some answers, or maybe the Nc'nean team can write down in the comments and give me a post that I can read and find out what the future, the next 10-year plan is for the distillery. I do like the batch 3. This is actually in my book more of a D plus, that's a little bit too much. C minus minus is what this is in the tasting sector. This is actually a C. I can actually say, hey, the batch 3 was nice. Okay, what I didn't do, I didn't do my German videos. I didn't dilute this down to 25%. Like to try this real quick. Ooh. Interesting. It's non-chilled filtered. You really realize that? Hmm. Hmm. It's interesting that the green apple, the green birch, that green young moment goes from the very beginning until the end now. The alcohol is out of the equation. And yet still that green apple, that crab apple moment is there the entire time. Let's do the exact same thing here with this one. The batch number 3. Very scientific. Also here you can see non-chilled filters, actually particles in the liquid now. The green turns to a yellow. It's a gooseberry. It's a lychee. It's a yellow plum moment. It's got a lot of potential. I love the fruity. I like the bright. I like the color. I like the vibrancy in my mouth. It's very sweet. It's actually, it always amazes me how much sweetness is in the whiskey when you water it down to about 30, 25%. The alcohol just covers that sweetness and just absolutely obliterates it. But yet here with the water at 25, 30%, it just comes and shines. And this is actually a very good whiskey. That's why I'm going to give this a C. This is C minus, value for money. This is more of a D plus plus. This is a C minus minus for value for money. 3 years old, 55 euros, 46%. Do not pay secondary prices for Nc'nean. Wait, batch 2, batch 3, batch 4 are coming. They're not that much different, and actually they're better. The longer you wait, you don't need to have the initial release here to find out how good this whiskey is. Batch 3 is actually the best representation I've had so far of Nc'nean out there. Question of the day. How important is it for you to have organic barley and renewable energy used to produce your whiskey? For me, it's more and more important to think about the cars, the electricity, the cement, other heavy industry that we have and that we do and make. Whiskey is not maybe the number one source of CO2, my footprint, I think. And the second thing is, how do you like the design here of the renewable tins or here cardboard boxes, as well as the recycled bottles here? Very, very important for them. How important is it for you? And the last thing I have is, what other distilleries do you know of that use STR casks? I've named a few. I've named Coswolts, I've named Annandale, and I've named Cavol. No, Cavalan. I'm sorry, Cavol is someone else. That's in Chicago. I'm so sorry. All right, thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, tell others. It'd be great if you share this on social media as well. And I hope to see you soon. WhiskeyJason here, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. 5,040 of these, 5,040 of these. And I think I'm the first person that has compared batch 2 and 3 with each other. All the best. Bye-bye.